I'm Peter Loshak. We're talking right now with returning guest Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. Joe, thanks for being back with us this week.
Thank you very much, Peter. We're going to have more fun this week than ever.
I think so, because there's no college football. So all the fun we're going to have is all going to come from NFL. So we're really going to maximize our NFL fun this week, huh?
Well, I have had some fun doing college basketball. It's been a very nice start to college basketball, especially since I returned to some of my basics, but that's another story altogether. But yeah, the NFL is great. There is one college football game, Army-Navy.
That's
so
true.
An opportunity to make some money on that. And I've occasionally released those Division I AA championships games. I'm a graduate of a Division II school, announced Division II school football myself, so I don't ignore those small college games. But for the most part, the regular season is done in college football.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, so let's talk about the first NFL game. We're going to talk about Arizona at Seattle. Very interesting handicapping situation here because the spread is huge, but the total is tiny. Seattle's a 10.5-point home favorite. The total's 34.5. And when you look at this game, it does make sense. Seattle's 5-0 against the spread at home this year. Arizona, though, their offense is awful. Lindley is not doing anything at quarterback, but they're sticking with him. And Beanie Wells has been terrible in his return. Russell Wilson is playing well. So this is one of those games where it's really going to, come down to, a matter of inches maybe by the spread. What do you like here?
I'm definitely going to have to go with the underdog. One of those untrue myths that keep going around is people who say winning begins with defense. That is false in basketball. It is false in football. If it were true, Arizona would be just fine. Arizona's got one heck of a defense. They struggle offensively. Defensively, their numbers are slightly better than Seattle's. And as I've mentioned in other videos, I like to use yards per rush, yards per pass, and yards per play relative to what their opponent's normal average is. And Arizona does quite well there. They hold teams to 0.3 yards below their normal rushing average, 0.4 yards below their normal passing average, and 3 yards below their normal yards per play. That's actually slightly better than Seattle's is. So Arizona has the better defense. Now, Seattle fits into another one of our theories, that is going against Seattle. They go from being the hunter, from being the hunter to the hunted. All of a sudden, now they've got the burden of high expectations, something they're not used to. Russell Wilson's been tremendous, but he is a rookie quarterback in uncharted waters, and we're going to fade that. Arizona's defense is just a little bit too good to be getting so many points. Also, Arizona has developed into our dichotomous ATS and straight up theory. Now, we use that a lot more in the NBA, but basically it says when, in a case like this, when a team is losing straight up constantly but covering, that means they're sneaking under the radar spread-wise. And that is exactly what Arizona is doing. They've lost 8 straight games, yet they've covered their last 2 against the spread. They've lost 5 in a row straight up on the road, yet they're at the point where they're covering. So this number is just a little bit too high. Seattle, as I said, uncharted waters for them and laying a lot of points to a pretty darn good defense.
Yeah, it does feel that way, but you're not worried about Seattle being 5-0 ATS at home. I mean, obviously they were an underdog in most of those games, and they were small favorite ones. Now they're a double-digit favorite. So that's very, very different situation. That doesn't worry you at all.
No, there's no question. We've actually, in the past, said that they're probably the #1 split team in football, where they are much better at home than they are on the road, and we are aware of that, although it's clearly reflected in that huge point spread. But to counteract that, they're actually coming off of their best road effort of the year, that dramatic comeback against Chicago. So a little bit of a letdown situation. So, no, there is no such thing as a sure bet in sports, and this is a perfect example of why. Seattle is clearly a very good home team. So if there were a sure bet in sports, we'd all be billionaires, but there wouldn't be any sports books out there. But all that, the information that is pointing in Seattle's direction is greatly outweighed by what says to go against Seattle and or for Arizona, which is getting too many points, especially off of that horrible effort last week. You knew they'd be undervalued this week. As badly as they played, they could have won straight up last week against the Jets. So Arizona is one of those teams that the odds makers know that the public doesn't want to bet on them, right, and they're a good value here.
Okay, great analysis, very thorough as usual. Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. Thanks so much.